live stream. I just pushed this button.
You doesn't have a finish button?
Oh, we're live.
Hi
Hello,
guys.
everyone. How's that focus? Is it okay?
I think it could be a little better.
It's a little hard to do. I think, yeah.
The glass makes it a little unfocused.
Back up a wee bit and go like this maybe. Let's try that.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, we're live. I don't think anybody's joined us yet, but hopefully we'll get a few in just a minute here. We thought we'd start out the live stream by feeding the morning geckos. Those of you who have seen our gecko video, our recent morning gecko video, have seen that we have a this nanovivarium that houses several juveniles and one adult. You can see at the top of the screen on the left there is one gecko there, and we're going to, we have some people have joined us, so thank you for joining us. We are just about to feed these geckos, and they're about to eat some fruit flies. It's kind of fun to see, and if you will hold that for me and hold the microphone, I'm going to add some
I think we should
flies.
Scoot the focus down though to their feeding dish so they can actually see them come eat.
Oh, well, I don't actually have a feeding dish in there right now.
But you can see the ground.
But I will
aim
it down.
There you go. Where they eat is what I meant.
Yeah, and they'll be eating all over the tank because the fruit flies begin to climb up the sides and whatnot. But yeah, we'll start down at the bottom. That's a good idea. So here we go. It looks like we have 4 people already. So
how can you tell? There's the
right
button.
There.
Okay.
Tells us. Oh, looks like we lost someone.
I don't really know how to.
Okay, I'm adding the fruit flies. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm not making a mess of it. Let's try this. See how that goes.
Lots of yucky fruit flies.
Oh, someone's back in. Okay, good. Well, I don't know if it's the same person, but thank you all for jumping in here. You can see the fruit flies climbing. Let's see if the geckos get excited about that.
Sometimes it takes them a minute, but she's already turned around, that one up at the top.
Yeah, she's starting to show some interest. Here she comes. Ooh, I don't know if we'll get a good shot of her, but we'll see whether or not she... Oh, I can see one in the back. She's already going, but you probably can't see from this angle. I'll see if I can move the camera a little bit.
Where are the other geckos?
So this one is on in the back. You can see her right there, right in the middle of the screen. She's hunting. She just took down a fruit fly. Those of you can see that. Generally, what happens is that the geckos go totally crazy over these fruit flies. Oh, the one on the back is now hunting too. Is immediately when I put them in. But I will admit something. Right before I took this video, I decided to clean off the glass so that you get a better view, because the glass, they had made it a little bit dirty. And now we're getting some comments in, and so I kind of spooked them by cleaning the glass. So that's my fault.
Well, they look like they're
but
eating.
But a couple of them are coming out.
Yeah.
So now we're getting some comments. If you want to go ahead and read those comments.
Powerful Lance says cool terrarium.
Thank you, Powerful Lance. He's joined us before.
Freaking username already taking means or says feeding geckos is very fun to watch.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I always I think keeping geckos, one of the fun things about them is watching them eat.
So Davey says, what kind of geckos are those? Those are morning geckos.
These are morning geckos, yeah.
M-O-U-R-I-N-I-N-G.
Right, I got these geckos originally from, I became interested in these geckos originally when we lived in Hawaii, because they live there. And we encountered them quite a bit, and I found out some interesting facts about them, such as their population is essentially all females, and they don't reproduce in the normal manner by male and female matings, but the females just lay eggs that can hatch. So they all reproduce by parthenogenesis. Occasionally males do show up, but apparently they are incapable of mating with the females, or at least incapable of fertilizing the eggs. So I started out with 3 females about 4 years ago, and have since produced, I don't know how many, probably in excess of 20 or 30. I don't know, a lot. Oh, Vance Blackburn. Oh, you go ahead and read it.
Can you zoom a little closer? I've never seen this species before.
Yeah. Let's see if I can do that. I'm going to try something to zoom in a little better. And I will also tell you, though, that I have a couple of other videos on these on my channel that have some really good macro shots, probably better than I can get during live stream. So I would recommend you check those out as well. But just a second, I will get a nice zoom in here if I can. You can get a better shot.
There we go. That's better.
Oh yeah, you can kind of get an idea what they look like there. You can see their little throats moving around, and hopefully I'm not disturbing them too much so that they'll still eat. Go ahead and read that.
Slideshow Able says, dude, Gecko out of here.
Hopefully we haven't missed any.
Freaking username says, then why do NB like, why are there
male
males?
geckos? I'm not sure. I do know that this species is a result of, oh, there's another one in the bush there that hasn't quite come out yet, but she's hanging around. The males, or the species that this species originated from, are closely related to this species. They're in the same genus. And when those two species hybridized, the results were these parthenogenic females. And so it's probably something genetic that we don't quite understand why the males occasionally show up. At least I don't quite understand how it works.
Well, and usually it starts a new strain, so I suppose the males add genetic variety. There just aren't very many of them.
Well, and the males don't actually mate with the females. Although if the males...
You said that the different strains of these are from different hybridizing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I guess I'm missing something what you said.
Oh, never mind.
That's okay. We're getting some comments there.
Okay, David Amorao says, so this is how Jurassic Park works?
Yeah, something like that. They did something like that, and there are quite a few reptiles that reproduce that way. It's pretty interesting.
Fish and
other creatures. I have a couple of other creatures that reproduce that way regularly.
Powerful Lance. So sexually confused geckos. Yes, they're
not
way,
sexual.
they're
they're asexual geckos. Yeah. And apparently the females will engage in what they call pseudo copulation. So they're essentially mating, but there's no genetic material exchanged. And it may be that some people say that the act of the pseudo copulation helps initiate egg laying, and others say that it does not. So I've read at least one study that said it doesn't, but they still engage in that behavior. But one study said that they do not do that. They instead, it has to do with dominance. So that was interesting. So
Powerful Lance says, I saw a movie like that once.
Yeah, maybe he's talking about Jurassic Park. I don't know. So,
yeah, there's reptiles and amphibians, right?
Yeah.
Isn't there pretty much everything except mammals, or there are birds?
There are birds. Yeah, turkeys. Turkeys can reproduce parthenogenically. They produce males. There are a lot of reptiles that can do it. There are a number of amphibians, I guess, that can do it. Although right now, I'm not thinking of a whole lot of them that can.
What about inverts?
Yeah, there are plenty of invertebrates that do it. I have at least one species of isopod, possibly up to 3 species of isopod that reproduce that way without any males.
And fish?
Yeah, yep. There are some fish that do it. One example, there's a species of molly that reproduces that way. Except this is interesting. The female does mate with males that are closely related. So closely related species. She will mate with those species, but the males don't contribute genetic material. They just kind of start the eggs developing.
Interesting.
Oh, and here is another chat there.
David says asexual turkeys.
Well, I don't know if I would. They're not quite the same as the mourning geckos, and that there, of course, there are plenty of turkey males. But occasionally, I guess what happens is that the turkeys, a female turkey will lay an egg that has not been fertilized, and the egg will develop into a male turkey.
Kind
and
of
it's
like
always a male turkey.
Our crested gecko did, because crested geckos mate sexually, but can also apparently reproduce parthenogenically.
Something like that, yes.
So they could go either way.
Okay.
Vance, non-territorial or aggressive towards each other's?
So talking about these geckos here, the mourning geckos, they can be slightly aggressive. As you can see, this is a fairly small vivarium.
But they're fairly small geckos.
And there are currently 5 in here, and they do fine. I mean, they will occasionally engage in like little spats, but nothing too serious.
Barking at each other.
Yeah, they make little chirping noises, and once in a while, I've heard of them biting off each other's toes. I've never seen that, but sometimes they can get fairly aggressive. I don't think ours have ever done it. I have seen them tussle with each other, even bite each other, and one once took off the end of a tail of the other one, which wasn't too serious because they grow them back. So they can be kind of aggressive, but as long as they have hiding places, and this plant right here provides a lot of hiding places that they can get away from each other, so that helps quite a bit. And then so they do okay. I'm actually going to move these because I think they do need a little more space, so I'm going to move them into a much larger vivarium quite soon, most of them anyway. I may leave the one adult female who is missing a foot in here,
she doesn't compete with the others as well.
Yeah, and when these eggs hatch, you can see a couple of eggs in the back there. When those eggs hatch, There's actually 4. Some of them are obscured by the plant up there in the left corner. When the eggs hatch, she will not be able to chase them.
Because she's missing a foot.
Yeah.
Davey says, how often do they lay eggs?
Well, it depends. When they're in peak reproductive, condition and whatnot, when they tend to lay eggs every month to 2 months, I would say that probably they lay eggs 10 out of 12 months during the year, and they generally lay a clutch of 2 at that point. There are, once in a while, they will lay just 1 egg. I've never seen them lay more than 2, and sometimes they just skip a month. So you get 20 eggs a year from each female when they're in peak reproductive condition. Again, dominance has something. Dominance can influence that, so a less dominant female might not produce as many eggs. So and most of these, like I mentioned before, are immature, so only one of them is currently laying eggs, but fairly soon most of them are going to mature, and then we'll get quite a lot of eggs.
Oh, Davey says, do you try to raise all the eggs to maturity?
Generally,
all the ones that hatch.
Generally, I let them, and what will happen once in a while is that an egg will be laid in a really stupid place, like right against the door, and I will open it, and the egg will break.
Break the egg.
Yeah, I'm actually going to move the, just give me a second, everyone.
You're going to put it back
I'm
on the
going to
tripod?
put this back on the tripod, move some things around a little bit. Sorry about the jiggling, because it's a lot more stable when it's on the tripod. It's easier for you to see, and I don't want you to have to, oh, sorry, I'm making a mess here. Don't want you to have to deal with all the jiggling too much, and that's just part of live, I guess, to some extent, but I want to minimize it. So let me see if I can zoom in again on where the action
says,
is.
how are the Julies doing? Oh, bring it back up. I lost it.
Bring what back up?
His comment.
Okay, so I was answering a question. Oh yeah, so
okay.
I do raise the eggs to maturity if I can, and once in a while they'll get cracked. Like I said, they'll be laid in a stupid place or whatever, and then, or sometimes they won't be fertile, and the females will eat any egg that gets cracked, and including the shell, and reclaim the calcium, which is good for them. So yeah, but I generally let them grow up, and I haven't had a problem selling them. Whenever I have any extras, so that hasn't been an issue. They're pretty popular. Okay, now let's go to Lance's question.
Lance says, how are the Julies doing? I was playing with the idea of adding a couple into my Frontosa calvus tank. They look pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah, actually they're doing really well. They seem to be settling in very nicely. They're coloring up, getting more rich coloration than they had before when they were in the tank with the lighter sand, so I'm happy about that. They seem to be getting along okay. I mean, once in a while they're not always happy with each other. Once in a while they'll push each other around a little bit, but in general they're pretty happy and doing well. So they seem to be coexisting quite well with the multis that they're in with. And I am planning on doing a video that feature them probably the end of this week. That's when that particular video is going to go out.
Freaking username earlier said turkeys are mean to me, and then he says geckos can be mean to me too.
Well, I've been bitten by a few lizards pretty seriously. Not no geckos have ever really hurt me, but some can. Tokay geckos can be mean.
Vance says, thank you for the close-up. You gave us a great opportunity to see them in action.
Oh, you're welcome. I think, in my opinion, close-ups are not quite done as often as they should be. They're really fun, and I like to do a lot of my videos with close-ups, which you may have noticed. I'll do like really tight macro shots with some of my stuff. It's just fun. I like it. So I'm glad you appreciate it.
Jane Tanked says, I'm a fish keeper and have watched your live foods videos. Saw your live stream. This vivarium is gorgeous. How did you put together, and what considerations did you take into account for the geckos?
Okay. Well, thank you. This is Jane Tanked, right?
Yep.
Thank you for joining us. I think this is a new, the first time Jane has joined us. I appreciate your opinion on the vivarium. I'm glad you like it so much. How did I put it together? Well, that's a pretty long answer, I guess, but I'll give you the kind of the Cliff Notes version of how that works. I work with, in this case, this is one of probably my third or fourth bioactive vivarium that I've set up. So basically you have to put a drainage layer of a really fine lightweight material down. In this case, it's a sintered glass, recycled glass product. put it down, which is very porous and absorbs the water. And then I put an ABG type mix, which is very lightweight, very aerobic, organic layer that includes things like sphagnum moss and tree fern fiber, stuff like that. And then I put a leaf litter layer, and then I put my plants in. In this case, I have mostly the creeping fig, the oak leaf creeping fig, and this is Peperomia rossi, I think is the name. And some considerations for the geckos. Well, one was ventilation. They like quite a bit of airflow, more than, say, dart frogs would. And so I did not put glass on the top here of the vivarium. I'm going to show you that. I'm sorry about the noise, but you can see up here, maybe you can't really see it. The light's too bright. Sorry about that. The screen is, there's a screen cover, and over that I just put the vivarium, the light cover, which has a vent up at the top. So ventilation is important for these geckos. They like it. They can do okay in a dart frog vivarium with almost no ventilation, very little, but they prefer it. They prefer the ventilation, seem to do better. So that was one of the considerations. Another was hiding places, which I think I mentioned earlier. The hiding places that this plant affords, there are plenty of like recesses in the leaves because it's really thick, and then that is really thick and bushy, and that really helps provide hiding places for them. Anything else? One thing that I don't know if this qualifies exactly as a consideration or not, but the geckos are very how can I say? Shoot, I'm losing my train of thought. Oh no, I got it. That microfauna are really important in most live bioactive vivaria. So I put in springtails and isopods when I started this out, but these little guys are so small that they will eat springtails individually. They'll hunt and eat them, and they will also hunt and eat small isopods. And so I found that the populations stay kind of low in here, but the more leaf litter I have in here, the better it is. It kind of helps protect them. So some of them do survive, and if I lift up the leaf litter, I do see springtails. And when I redid the vivarium not too long ago, I took all the substrate out and looked in, and there were isopods living and breeding there. So it does work. But I think this heavy plant cover, you can see that this the oak-leafed fig that's growing up the back is doing really well, and that helps you know, take care of the waste. And so that's another consideration as well. Let's see. I don't know if we actually saw this in action, but you kind of think that this is a really small vivarium for such for this many geckos, 5. But one thing, and like I said, I am moving them into a larger one, but it's not so bad for several reasons. One is because these geckos can climb glass like many other geckos, and so the surface area, the effective surface area of this vivarium is increased, so there's more space they're actually utilizing, and that goes for the ceiling. They'll also climb on the ceiling quite a bit, especially when it's dark. Also,
the geckos are tiny. It's hard to tell in the video because you don't have, but you know, that's a fruit fly crawling
in front
on
of
her, so they're tiny geckos.
Yeah, very tiny. So they don't really need a ton of space as long as they have plenty of hiding places. And hopefully that answers the question. It's a great question.
Nice shot.
And if there are any other, if I missed something that you know, I didn't specifically address a part of your question you're wondering about, then let me know, and I'll do my best to address that.
Okay, freaking username says don't cover the light, then it will be in the dark side.
Yeah.
Come to the dark side, we have cookies.
I think I was too much in the light side for a minute there when I tried to look at the top, but yeah, that's a good point. I don't want to be on the dark side.
You gotta have balance.
Balance in the force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Balance in Karate Kid too.
That's true. Balance, Daniel-san. Very important.
Mr. Miyagi could probably catch those fruit flies in his chopsticks.
Oh, here's a gecko in the front now. She's hunting. Oh, I just scared her away. Darn it. Where'd she go? There's one hiding in the bushes now, but when I moved, it scared her. Are my videos monetized? Yes, they are. Most of them. I think I may have one or two that aren't, but...
So, yeah.
Yeah, actually, YouTube has paid me several times once since I've gotten them monetized. So I save up, you know, they only send me money when I have built up $100, but that's happened several times. So it's working, yeah.
Powerful Lance. Nobody has said anything in a bit, so this is a random, no reason post.
Random, no reason post. Well, I don't mind those. Those are kind of nice. They help relieve the silence, so, you know, we don't want awkward silences. I will tell you something kind of fun that happened this week, though. You know, last week, I apologize for missing 2 live streams in a row. I've been trying to do them on Monday evenings, but the last 2 weeks, my voice was just not up to it because I was sick. And I wasn't even up to it either. But now I'm feeling a little better, not totally out of the woods, but feeling well enough that I can do this. Oh, nice shot, by the way. That was a good one. Anyway, a few days ago, my daughter came in and she said, "Hey, guess what I found outside in the backyard? I found a bunch of squiggly things." And so she showed me what they were, and they were mosquito larvae that had
in the bird
found,
bath.
yeah, the bird bath had gotten some water in it. And
Excuses.
Cody Dryden Conway, first time making it live. Thank you for joining us. So, where was I? We were talking about, squiggly things, and in the bird bath, there got some water sitting in the bird bath. We usually don't keep it full, like try to maintain it for the birds all the time, but it's just kind of in a corner of the backyard.
The sprinklers got in it.
Sprinklers got in it. It got kind of full, and our sprinklers are not chlorinated. We have secondary water, they call it. So
it's irrigation water.
It's irrigation water, not chlorinated, and so mosquitoes can grow in it pretty fast. And we hadn't noticed, and she noticed, and so I said, "Oh, okay, cool. Thank you for finding those. We net some of those out." And so I told her how to do it and gave her a brine shrimp net, and she netted a whole bunch of them, hundreds of them.
Which is disturbing.
It was kind of disturbing that they were there. And then I said, "Okay, it's very important. You need to, once you've got as many as you can get, you need to dump it out. You need to dump it out so the mosquitoes don't continue to develop." And so she dumped out whatever she couldn't catch so that they would not produce. And then we had a whole lot of fun feeding the fish with mosquito larvae. We had enough mosquito larvae to feed them for quite a while. And I'm actually going to make a video. I filmed a lot of footage, and I'll be releasing a video on mosquito larvae and how to use mosquito larvae effectively for your fish.
Oh, the lights
we've lost the light. I can fix that really fast. Hold on, everyone.
It went to the dark side.
There we go. We're back again. Oh, sorry about the jiggle there. Yeah. So there we go.
Chlorinated bird bath. Yeah, exactly. So it's not a chlorinated bird bath.
Right. The water that went into it was not chlorinated. So
Dave says I'd feed them to my gold barbs.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would eat them.
My gold barbs got some. I think all of my fish, or almost all of my fish got some, including our goldfish, which are pretty big, and they still wanted some. So they got some. The multis got some. The Julies got some. So on. Gold barbs. All happy to eat them. I actually suggested to my daughter that she feed some to her axolotl, just in case, because they like Daphnia, but she didn't want to do it. I'm not sure why. She was totally enthusiastic about feeding them to the fish. She didn't want to feed them to her axolotl.
Maybe she didn't want to contaminate her axolotl with evil mosquitoes.
Could be.
Lance says, I picked up a couple full-size silver dollars today, in quarantine now, but going to be a nice addition to my relatively empty baby Arowana tank. Just bragging of it.
Oh, I don't mind at all. I think that's awesome that you're bringing that up. Go ahead and brag about it. That's super cool. My cousin used to have some silver dollars. I always liked those. Now, I think you may have mentioned your Arowana before, but what kind of Arowana do you have? There's so many cool Arowanas out there. And there are a lot of kinds that, like the king of DIY, he has a blue-based crossback, and then he has what's the other one? It's a red one, but I can't remember the name of it. There are so many cool kinds. So let us know what kind you have. Okay.
Freaking username says, what type of gecko is most Satan?
So
the meanest, I guess?
Well, there is a type of gecko called, the scientific name is Europlatus, that genus, the satanic leaf-tailed gecko.
Oh, really?
So maybe that one's the most satanic.
Maybe that was a pun joke.
Maybe, because they have kind of like horn shapes above their head, and when you look at them head on, they look kind of scary. But I would say maybe tokay gecko might be the most satanic in terms of like attitude, because they'll bite you with the least provocation. Okay, so but that's a good question.
So Lance says his Arowana is a red tail gold high back and is about 8 inches now.
Wow, that must be a nice looking fish. I would love to see that, and it's going to get to be a lot bigger than that.
It's pretty big. Davey says, "Do you still keep bettas?" We don't have any bettas
Let's
right
see.
now.
Right now we don't, but that's not a permanent situation.
Bettas
We
are
will
always
eventually
intermittent
get
since
some.
they don't live very long.
They don't live very long. That is part of
live a few years.
The problem. I love bettas, but I get really sad after a couple of years when they start getting really old, and you have a betta for, it depends on the particular betta. It might be 2.5 years when it's really happy, and then it just kind of slowly goes downhill. It's really hard to watch.
Yeah.
It might go downhill for 8 months, 6 months, 8 months, a whole year, just kind of this geriatric period of its life where it's not very happy. So it's kind of hard on me, actually.
Yeah.
But I have thought about doing some of the mouth brooding bettas sometime, because I think, I don't know if they suffer from that as much or not, but it seems like with their less exaggerated finnage, that might help. I'm not,
just
feel
less
like they're
stress on
carrying
their
extra
body.
weight. I've also thought about getting placats again, because I love placats with their short fins. So I will definitely do bettas again. I just haven't done them in a while. for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love them. It's kind of hard to be without one when I look at the store and I walk by and see all the beautiful bettas, and I think, oh, I would love to do that again. But you know, someday we'll do that again. Wow, they're still out hunting.
Yeah, there's still some fruit flies in there.
Yep. But we really had a fun experience breeding bettas, but it was very, very labor intensive.
And space intensive.
And we decided we were not going to do it again unless we had a rack on a wall somewhere that was entirely devoted to bettas, and it was all plumbed and everything, so we didn't have to worry about daily water changes, because for 50 plus baby bettas, that was tough.
Jane Tank says, I started 3 green water buckets and have been harvesting mosquitoes for the fish, which they love. One of my tanks now has ick. Do you think there's any connection?
Okay, very, very good question. I'm actually going to address this question somewhat in my next video, or the one that's coming up about mosquitoes. I will be talking about that a little more, but I'll talk about it now because you asked about it. So I think that's a great idea to be using it, but I don't think the ick are related to the mosquito larvae, and I'll tell you why. Okay, because unless that water is coming from an aquarium, but if the green water is coming from an aquarium, there could be a connection. But if it's green water that you're just making by, like, say, taking tap water and letting it age outside and throwing grass in it or something like that, and then letting algae develop, then I don't think there is any connection, because the ick parasite would have to come from water where there are already fish. Because the parasite can't really survive in water that doesn't have fish in it for very long. I mean, there's a limited period of time during which it needs to find a host, and if it doesn't find a host, it dies. I don't think that water, the green water buckets are having any impact on that, unless the origin of those buckets is connected with fish somehow. So.
And you'd have to get them in there pretty quickly before they died.
Yeah.
Okay. Lance says, if you want to see the Arowana, my YouTube channel wallpaper is a picture of it, though a couple of months old.
Cool.
So
yeah.
you can go look
I'll
at
definitely
that.
have to check that out.
Freaking username says, do you keep crocodiles? Lance says, crocs would be cool.
I can't, actually. They're illegal in my area. And even if they weren't,
they'd probably be against house rules.
Probably. I think they would count under, well, they don't fit any of those 3, but I think as a practical matter, we wouldn't end up doing it. I'm thinking of our house rules, but I don't think they would fit. Well,
they're not a tarantula and they don't have venom, but they can eat.
They can eat people.
You,
yeah,
so
I guess so. I'll tell you what, though.
If we had anything like that, it would be much more along the lines of a gator, because crocodiles are just aggressive and mean.
Yes. I will tell you, though, when I worked at the zoo some time ago, there was a leucistic alligator, which is absolutely a beautiful thing. So it was almost pure white. It had blue eyes, and it was almost pure white with just a few little specks of dark near its snout. And I got to hang out near the alligator a lot. I didn't actually go in the enclosure, but one of my jobs involved being close to the alligator, and I really got a kick out of it.
Yeah, well, and he was really peaceful too. Like the keepers could go in that one when he was in there, and it wasn't a problem. The crocodile tank, they can't go in.
The crocodile enclosure was very, very different, and they had to put shields in front of them, and the crocodiles would strike at them repeatedly whenever they did that, even though they had been doing it for years.
Yeah. Lance says, big tank, though. There was a girl in one of the Facebook groups that had a little gator in a tank.
Wow.
It's going to be a big gator before too long. Freaking username says, no, Sab, crocs are friendly. Maybe you're thinking of a different crocodilian that is not actually a crocodile.
Well, you remember that story, though? That news story about the Costa Rican crocodile?
One story?
There was this cool story on YouTube about this Costa Rican crocodile that a guy befriended and was friends with it for years before it died, and he could play with it out in the wild, and was just playing out in the river, and he would go and touch it and everything.
And it's amazing, but that's definitely the exception. I mean, again, I would believe it more with like an alligator, or even, I don't know what... Gharials are not particularly aggressive, are they?
Not like some crocodiles.
People swim with gharials.
Yeah, but gharials also don't have the
a
jaw equipment to be able to eat people. Yeah,
they've got a much thinner snout because they eat fish.
Right.
Lance says, seems like bad news waiting to happen.
Yeah, I could see that.
David says, what zoo did you work at?
Well, I worked actually at the Honolulu Zoo. I was a volunteer there for a while in the children's zoo. That was quite a while ago. Probably 2004, 2005, somewhere in there. And then in 2008, I got a job at the Hogle Zoo.
In Utah here.
Yeah.
That was the one with the leucistic alligator.
Right.
They have it on loan, actually, for a summer.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. It was quite an experience. It was fun.
Lance says, all fun and games until it rips your arm off.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yep, and I never actually did handle any of the crocodilians. I handled some of the other animals, but...
and they're amazing.
They are.
They're fascinating to study, but probably not the best idea for a pet.
Right. Well, it looks like our time is about up for this time. So any final comments? Then if you want to toss something in there, this is the time. Thank you all for joining us, both new and returning viewers. Really happy to have you. Hope you enjoyed our morning gecko live feeding for those of you who are watching this. And I think that's about it. So we'll sign off. And may the fish
be with you.